Thank you so much, Krishna, for this lovely introduction. And this is the seventh panel. And the topic, as Krishna said, is the to-do list for a successful venture. Before I get to that, the question answer part, I just want to put the things into perspective. As we know, starting a new business is essentially an experiment, and there are certain rules that guide that. There is a certain science. If you talk to any entrepreneur or business owner, you will quickly learn that it's more than grit and choose path. It's beyond that. It is about following some to-do list. There is a list of success. Of course, 80% is that, and 20% your success is your ability to take a risk. All of that come in it. So today we have with us people who have built their own successful ventures. They have followed the list. They know the rules of the game. And who better to learn from than these people who have over the years mastered those steps that lead to that successful venture. Without further ado, I just want to go straight away to my first question to all of the panelists. I will start with Devanshi and answer this. Devanshi, tell me, what has been your experience as an entrepreneur? Is it the set of formula that you follow to make is venture successful? Is it more than that? What has been your learning, if you could take us through that?
On this panel, I started PetKonnect sometime last year, and of course through the journey there has been a lot that I've learned about entrepreneurship and the journey that comes with it. To summarize, I mean, of course I can't take you through the 9 months in the next 2 minutes, but just to summarize the points that I have learned, we've seen that entrepreneurship for me stood on 4 pillars that I could see. Being internal, that was my team and my product, and 2 being external, which is legal, and the customers. Which is the most important. So I'll expand on all of these points a little more. I would like to start with the market or my customers. What happens is, when most of us get an idea, we have that moment where we think it's a fantastic idea and we should totally go ahead with it with all the enthusiasm that comes with a new idea and the idea of being an entrepreneur. What I have learned in the past with another startup that I had was, before jumping the guns into developing the product or the idea, it's great to take feedback from your potential customers to understand who you would be providing your product or service to, taking feedback from them, seeing if they want the product or service or not. Because it doesn't have to be true that when you have an experience or what you think is a problem that you're solving is actually a problem for your targeted customers. Right. Having said that, once you've spoken to the customers, and what I experienced in PetKonnect was, I spoke to about 200 pet parents. We literally reworked the entire model from what it was and where I'd started, and that is when we began development of the product. Which brings me to the second important thing here, which is my product. For me, it was my application, the PetKonnect application or the website. We had to, work with different teams. The team building was important. The product development was important. Both the quality and and presenting it out to the people the way they want to see it. Right. Then also, moving on to legal and compliance. That is one thing that's often even ignored, because when I started out, this was not something even I had looked at. I thought it's a great product. I thought people are happy with it. But then when I looked at the laws, there is literally a precedent, a law for every business that we want to look at in this country today. And the compliances that come with it. That is also extremely important. So a concoction of all of these together is what essentially made my learning and made for this startup to get successful.
Great, Devanshi. Great learnings, actually. Yes, you put it so right. Ashneer, I want to come to you. Your venture. I mean, everyone knows about it. The success. Tell me, how do you see the success of a venture? Is it also the times you launch it in? as I said, is it about a formula that you follow? How do you see it? What is your personal observation?
So for me personally, the success is scale, right? I think there's a lot of problems to solve. It takes the same effort if you're trying to solve a small problem or a big problem, right? Because all of us are human, so we have that much hours in the day. I think for me the key is always to pick up a big problem and scale it up, right? So whether it was at Grofers, where I was technically the first employee, or to BharatPe, where I first put out the first sticker out or the first QR out. It's always the scalability of the problem that to me is a measure of success, right? So anything where the addressable market is not into certain billions of dollars, it becomes very difficult to make money, especially in a market like India, which runs on very, very thin margins, right? That's it in a nutshell for me.
Right. Jitendra, your thoughts? Sorry, your audio is muted.
Sorry. So I think when it comes to success, I'd say scale is a perfect measure of success. And the more scalable you are, the more successful you are, depends on who's looking at you and what is their definition of scale. So I 100% agree with what Ashneer said here about success and scale. However, if you're asking for a success formula, I don't think there is one. If there was one, then probably everybody would have figured it out. I think for one to be successful and to be able to make that impact, pre-COVID, post-COVID, the world keeps on changing. There's a lot of conditions which need to be met. Some conditions which you can control, some you cannot. And I think preparation is the key. So think of life as a bunch of puddles, and if you're prepared to jump when the puddle comes, that's success. So I think for me, preparing yourself is the key, and then just wait for the right opportunity, and that's it.
Right. Paavan, let me ask you like this. People always say identify a problem and that then follow it, and that's how a venture starts. Is it one is that another is even if you do that, then the funding comes into the picture. The right skills come into the picture. In your journey, what all have you gathered as essentials of the mix, this success mix that is needed?
Got it. Yeah. So see, I think it's important because when you are building a venture, you are essentially building three things, right? The first one is you're building a product. It can be a product or a service, which is totally built in keeping the problem in mind or the customer in mind. Second, you are building a business, right? Which is being built by keeping the unit economics, the financial viability, the long-term margin, the short-term margin, scale, those kind of things in mind. And third is you are building an organization where the entire like your team, your co-founders, the kind of board members you get, the kind of investors you get, all those come into picture. And as I think some of my fellow panelists have already mentioned, there is no single formula. There is nothing like that. There's just a series of decisions. And to be very honest, between a very, very successful entrepreneur or probably somebody whose startup did not work out well, it's only a matter of 1% extra extra decision making power. That decision making framework. There is a very important mathematical formula, right? If I put a mathematical formula there, 0.99 to the power 365 takes you somewhere else, and 1.01 to the power 365 takes you somewhere else. So it's really about those small decisions that you should just keep on taking better than others, or in the right orientation with the right framework, keeping your end goal in mind. I think that's really what matters. And of course, everything, all these are ingredients, right? Rest everything is an ingredient there.
Right. Hakimuddin, how do you have heard everyone? So what are your thoughts on that? Sorry, maybe. Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you.
So I heard all of the fellow panelists, and one thing that I agree with everybody is that being a successful is something that doesn't come out of the gene, right? What I have been performing, or what I have been taking as an learning from my this 3 years of 2.5 years of experience in entrepreneurship is that you have to be like a fluid, right? You need to understand in which direction you need to flow in, right? And the two mantra that I have always believed to ensure that I always follow and ensure my team is doing is, we believe that you need to be fluid, and other thing is you need to keep on learning, because evolving is the one thing that I believe will never stop, right? I come up something today, tomorrow somebody else will come up with, right? And look at the companies like Nokia or Kodak and those companies. They were leaders in their areas itself. But what went wrong with those success or the leaders is because they could not evolve, right? And they could not sustain. So my mantra of being successful is only being able to be as fluid as possible, and being able to evolve as and when something new comes up, or to make things more improvised.
Right.
Just like
Ashneer, I want to start with you. Yes, I want to start with you. Is a lot of entrepreneurs who are watching you right now, who are hooked on to this panel right now, they also want to know, there's a lot of conversation around money and ideas. If you have to place your bets, what would you tell them? How should they go about between the two, choosing between the money and the idea? Or how do you bring them together to build a great venture?
Yeah, absolutely. See, to build any business, you need labor, you need technology, and you need capital, right? Like that's the basic economics of it. I think ideas are not worth much. The 130 crore Indians they have a multiple of that as ideas every day. The end of the day, money will follow execution and result, right? So the capital markets are very efficient in that manner, right? So I think a lot of people believe that sometimes, or wrongly start believing that the idea was great. अगर कहीं से पैसे आ जाते तो यार चल जाता, right? I don't think in that direction. My belief is that if your idea is great and you have got execution, then money should chase you. Money is the laziest thing, right? It can't multiply itself, but it will always go after wherever the results are coming. So I'm much more believer in execution than ideas. I think the simplest of ideas with the best of execution get the bigger money, right? If you look around the bigger businesses today, even in startups, not like earth-shattering ideas, right? Delivering food at home or delivering product at home is not like some rocket science, or even for that matter, putting a QR code at a shop where everyone can pay. It's not like rocket science. It's just that were you the ones who were executing faster than the other guys?
Right. Devanshi, how do you see this, the gap between the idea and the money part? What is your take on it? Which one is preferred for you for a startup to get successful? So, sorry, all audio is muted.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
As Ashneer rightly said, no idea is worth anything until it's actually executed. So of course the initial capital is required, and it's not just the money that's required. It's also the proper application of the money that needs to go in for the idea to be executed like it should be. So yes, there are many people with so many ideas. Not everyone has the time to follow things through. Not everyone has the resources to follow it through. But if you follow it through, even with the least resources you find, and manage implementing it in a way that it should, it is the capital that actually pushes the idea then.
Right. So Jitendra, we are also a lot of startups, want to be entrepreneurs who want to get in that space, are also stuck that we need an earth-shattering idea before we begin. And as we heard earlier, that it's not about that. It's also about taking a simple idea and executing it. How do you see this? What is your take on this?
Yeah, I think these guys have covered it pretty well. They've already mentioned that, ideas are nothing. You have 130 crore, 140 crore Indians, and almost everybody has an idea these days. So ideas are dirt cheap. What matters really is the execution, and ideas don't have to be like complex ideas. A simple idea like this, or something small. So the emphasis shouldn't be on the idea itself. I think a lot of things have been fed to us with regards to idea, and there was a time when everybody was like, oh, I have an idea, and ideas are amazing. I think more than that, the focus should be on solving a problem. And when you're solving a problem, it doesn't matter whether the problem is big or small, because if the problem affects 10 people, there's a good chance that it affects millions of people out there. And unless until your solution is scalable, or unless until your idea, quote unquote, idea is scalable, there's no point. And you need a team, you need execution behind that solution to make it scalable, and that's when you define success, right? As Ashneer said a few minutes back.
Right. Hakimuddin, do you think having a tight, frugal approach in entrepreneurship actually is a critical part of success of a venture?
I think it does. I think that is one thing that we have to carry it along. But before I also jump on that piece, one thing that I wanted to put it up what Ashneer just talked about on the point that you were talking about of the money and the idea. One thing that we have been missing in this conversation is there is a courage that is also required. Everybody has an idea, right? And everybody has a job. Majority of Indians or go in any country, everybody is employed. Everybody gets an idea. A very few percentage of the people out there has a courage to say that I'm going to pursue this idea, right? That is very important, and I'm telling you why. The fact is because I have been trying to come up with this entrepreneurship for almost 10 years now. I did not have the courage to do that. It's because till that time I had a good job, a salary, and everything coming in. But the moment I hit the block where I did not have a job, that was a time where I had nothing to lose. And that is exactly why I was talking about the courage, is because a lot of ideas get filtration out there when the person says that he has to choose one about the steady salary, or is he going to take a chance and come out of that and say, okay, मैं try करता हूँ. Even if I fail, I will try. That is, I think, is a very important point. And of course, funding and the idea is always chicken and egg situation, right? Who's going to come first, right? So I always believe that, if you have a right idea, you can always execute it with a lower scale, just to ensure that are you able to turn that around and at least get yourself, bread and butter. And if you're able to do that, I think that qualifies for the funding, and then it goes on, and then there's, a lot of stories out there of the startup. So absolutely, that's
Paavan,
my take on the entrepreneurship.
Perfect. Paavan, to you, and then I go to my final round of questions. Yes, Paavan, your thoughts?
On being capital efficient, sorry, I missed the question.
Yes. So basically, the divide between money, frugality, and idea. What is most critical for a successful venture in your view?
I think idea is like the most overrated thing on a venture. I would say I would rate idea below everything else, to be honest. I mean, trust
what
me.
would be number one for you? Yeah.
I think number one would be execution, of course, any day. Execution then becomes and then execution is everything, right? Execution requires the right kind of team, the right kind of leadership, the right kind of evolution of an organization, the right kind of capital. Not, just capital, but effective utilization of capital and resources. So I think, that's how I look at it. For example, you get into an idea. The idea is only, I would say, as important as probably the identifying a space, right? It's like, okay, fine, I'll try to do something in this particular space. My previous venture was in the hospitality space, right? We started off with a very small idea, right? We launch backpacker hostels in the country. But because we had spent some 8-10 months in that space, we realized that even the budget hotel space is so so blank and vacant, and we started off Zo rooms, which was a direct competitor to Oyo rooms, and we all know how large Oyo room opportunities. So you can enter a space with a very different idea, and because of being present there and hitting hard and trying to solve some problems, you can stumble upon something much larger. The idea is to just just hang in there and keep thinking about a much larger opportunity, and that's why I think as long as you're in the right space, if you're smart and if you have your eyes and ears open, you will eventually stumble upon a great business model.
Ashneer, my next question to you is, in COVID, for example, a lot has changed as far as problems. And entrepreneurs need problems to get into new ventures. I think problem is the first thing there has to be that challenge in the market. And now you see a lot of challenge being thrown in the market. Do you think the entrepreneur landscape, how would you see it impacting the entrepreneur, the venture capitalist, the startup culture in the long term?
I think during the COVID, there has been a lot of adoption of digital products, right? So because everyone was at home, anything you needed, you were touching your phone rather than picking up a car key or a bike key and going out, right? So a lot of discovery has happened. So cost of acquisition for a lot of digital businesses. My view again is how much of it remains in the new normal and how much the world will go back, we'll have to see. In some sense, I believe the world will go back. So people who have completely pivoted their models or changed their business models during COVID might have to do it again, right? So it's not like what happened in the last 6 months is going to be the state of affairs for the next 2 years. I think the world will get back to normal. If someone has used this time, for example, EdTech has utilized this time to scale up really well because kids were at home. Parents needed to keep them busy. What better way than to put them on a computer screen and tell them to study, right? So EdTech has benefited, and so have other sectors as well. But I think life will go back to normal again. So if someone starts building today for COVID scenario, will be in for a big shock. Because by the time the product is out, people would be back on the streets.
Right. Just a quick follow-up question. Do you think some sectors are easier? There are easy steps for ventures to become successful in some sectors compared to others, or is it a broad brush that can apply across sectors?
No, I don't think any sector as such is easy. I think you have to understand India is a hyper-competitive market, right? Any sector which has scale, you will have a Google, a Facebook, and Amazon already in that, and then at least 2 homegrown startups trying to go for the pie. So it's India is an overbought market. It's like the last frontier. So anything you do, you'll have, and anything which has scale, you'll have the big tech already as the default competitor, and then you'll have Geo, and then you'll have the homegrown guys. So I don't think it'll be unfair to call it easy for anyone out there.
Right. Devanshi, your thoughts about the impact of current situation that we have been seeing for the last 5 months on the future of startups, on the new entrepreneurs that are looking. Is there more opportunity, or is there a different ball game altogether now? Is this a different ball game altogether?
So honestly, the one thing that I always observed is there is a lot of opportunity when there's chaos. So given there's so much chaos, the opportunity stands. It's just that the sector in which the opportunity once was has now shifted to other sectors. In a way that physical shops or clothing brands, which were brick and mortar first, are now moving to the online space, as he said, as Ashneer mentioned, and that's where the opportunities are building up. And so yes, the world will come back in the long term, but at least in the near future, maybe the next 6 to 12 months, when there is rampant fear amongst people to actually go out and go back to the way the world was. 2, there will be readjustment issues even then. And I think for me, one of the biggest avenues here, more than the external, is the internal management of every startup. We have now moved towards remote management. Geographies have stopped mattering when people are working, and this also has its own pros and cons. Of course, the benefit is efficiency has somewhere increased because people are working from home, and the travel time has been cut, and a lot of things are managed that way. Vis-a-vis the fact that as a manager, when it comes to coordinating with different teams which is based out of different locations, and the hassle of reaching out to them on say a video call or a Zoom versus just stepping out of your cabin and having one-on-one meetings. So it requires a lot of adjustment on the management and the team level as well. And I think that's going to have a bigger impact on businesses as we see today.
Great. Jitendra, your quick thoughts.
I think this pandemic has also brought a change in people's perspective. Now we are not just looking at problems, we are also looking at problems which really need solving. I mean, is food delivery really such a big problem now that people are staying in, cooking at home? Do they really need their food delivered at home? So, and that's just one side of the story. And is health and wellness, something which can take a backseat, or does it have to come to the forefront? So, now we have started asking ourselves important questions which pertain to survival, and the questions which pertain to survival are usually the right questions. So I think this pandemic has definitely made a perspective shift. And while we might go back to the usual routine, and while this pandemic might get over in the next 18 to 24 months, but I think the perspective shifts will definitely be long lasting, because people will always worry about the next pandemic to come.
Right. Paavan, yes, sorry. Yes, Paavan, your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's clear. It's very, very evident, right? The world has changed, and it's there in our minds. I mean, and that's what's going to be probably a year and a half down the line. Things will probably be back to normal. Still, there'll be certain scenarios that will be factored in every time. A business model will be hashed into. And overall, I think a lot of focus will be there on some of the other sectors which was not there. I mean, the entire digital media entertainment. I mean, that is going to, over next 1 year or so, I think there's so many ideas right now too, and that will be taking shape in next couple of quarters. I think entertainment as an industry will totally leapfrog because of this, right? What ideally we would have been in 2024, 2025, we'll probably be already reaching those targets, numbers, quality of products already by 2021. So I think that, and being one, like running a gaming content platform, I myself can vouch for that. So yes, I think speed of evolution is going to be faster that way. And hopefully, I guess, we all should come out of this in a fairly safe and sound manner, with this pandemic.
Hopefully soon, yes. Hakimuddin, how do you see the impact of the current situation on the larger picture of the startup culture and startups overall?
I think this is an eye-opener, right? COVID has been an eye-opener for not just the startup, but for the corporates which are well established, or the startup that are going to come up, right? So we always had this culture of having an office, going to the office, working from office, and all that stuff. So I see two folds to it. One is that a lot of organizations have now started saving money out, where they started moving people out from an organization and saying, boss, I'm not giving them a pink slip. What I'm trying to say is work from home thing, right? So a lot of people are now saving up on the rent on the real estate piece, while on the other side, if you see, the real estate also will see a boom in the coming time, not from a commercial perspective, but from a residential perspective. Because if I'm going to be staying at my home continuously every day working from home, I would definitely like to upgrade my house with one extra bedroom which I can turn into an office, right? So a shift is going to be there. Of course, there's going to be a lot of impact on the economic things, which we could see that the GDP impact and all that thing has happened. But I see this is going to be a bounce back. The bounce back will have an impact on certain area, but there's not going to be a situation where everybody's going to have a hunger. But I think this is a eye opener for all of us.
Perfect. I'm just rushing because we have 4 minutes left and I want final closing comments. I want to come to you, Ashneer, with that. What would be your advice to people who want to create those successful ventures as all of you have made? What would be your quick advice to them?
I think the only advice is don't try to become a founder for the sake of it. It's not glamorous.
It looks great on the card, but it's
not it looks very nice on the card, but do something you believe in, and if you think it's genuinely going to make a business for you and money for you, right? Don't jump in it just to put it on your CV.
Devanshi, your thoughts? Your advice to the upcoming entrepreneurs?
Yeah. So while he rightly said don't jump in, I'd like to say that once you have jumped in and you have actually started your journey of entrepreneurship, don't also be as hasty to leave it, because results take time. Market feedback takes a lot of corrections, and for you to see your startup through success, it's not going to happen overnight. We can't all be Mark Zuckerbergs. We're going to have to be determined. We're going to have to persevere to reach our end goal.
Right. Paavan, to you, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to sum up what this deal called startup is in one statement. But yeah, I think those who are out of it, they should. You guys are definitely having far better time than those who are in it. There is nothing, nothing glamorous, nothing great, nothing, praiseworthy about it. Of course, there is some, definite passion, somewhere down in our mind that we are all following. But trust me, from a life or a lifestyle standpoint, I think you can't do more disservice to you than doing and becoming a founder of a startup. And those who are doing and those who have now made up their mind and have come on this side of the fence, I think ab aa gaye ho to phir lage raho bas, aur kya, keep the grind on, and hopefully we'll be able to crack something in this.
Right. Jitendra, but we have seen a lot of startup founders making it so big, getting all that funding and going to altogether a different level of lifestyle as well as success, So, Jitendra, your quick thoughts on this?
I think founders are just employees in their own companies, and there's literally no difference. And coming to lifestyle and flashing expensive cars and all those things, I know a lot of people, plus the senior executives, the A-level executives who've never been a founder, but they have much more wealth in their bank compared to most of the founders combined together. And these guys have the most stable jobs and they're well settled. So it's not about becoming a founder and then you're living your dream life. I think founders struggle. Founders live like any other employees, and so do not get distracted by the term entrepreneur or founder. At the end of the day, you are just an employee like the rest of the clients. So like Paavan said, there's no additional glamour, there's no additional something that comes in. So stick to what you like doing and just excel at it. The fun is in number.
Right. Perfect. Final words, Hakimuddin. Perfect. Final words from you. Yeah.
I think one thing is, of course, that I've heard everybody talking about grinding is what we continue to do when you are being on the other side of the table as a founder. But one thing I would always encourage all the the people who want to become a founder is give it a try, right? Do not set back. Is because this is something that I did it is because I didn't wanted to regret in my old age when I become 60 or 70 when I'm retired. I didn't wanted to feel that I didn't try. So my only suggestion to all those things, if you think this is gonna work, if you have an idea, give it a try. If it doesn't work, there are solutions out there. But do not hold your back saying मैं नहीं कर पाऊंगा तो. So I would say that giving it a try is one thing, and second is if you give it a try, then never look back.
Perfect. Thank you, Ashneer, Devanshi, Jitendra, Paavan, and Hakimuddin for this wonderful conversation. And over to you, Krishna. Thank you so much.